When was the last time you looked in the mirror and actually saw yourself? Really saw yourself? Without the filter of who you've been trying to be for her, without the mask you were to keep her happy, without the weight of bending yourself over and over again just to keep a temporary peace in a place where you were always walking on eggshells. I'm talking about you, the real you, the one that's been buried under all that overthinking, the one who has been carrying the fear that maybe, just maybe, you were never enough for her no matter how hard you tried. And that's the hardest pill to swallow sometimes, isn't it? The truth that maybe she never actually loved you for who you are, but for what you could give her, the way you made her feel, the comfort of knowing you would always stay no matter how she treated you, because your loyalty made her feel secure, while it made you feel empty inside. But here's what you need to understand, brother. The day you wake up and realize your worth, the day you see yourself clearly in that mirror again, her power over you begins to fade, and everything starts to shift. That's when the game changes, and that's when she feels the loss. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop trying to convince her of your value, the moment you stop chasing her validation, that's when she feels it deep in her gut. It's not your anger that shakes her, it's not your silence that scares her, it's your indifference, your calm, your refusal to beg for a place in her life anymore. Because for so long, she thought she could play with your emotions, push your buttons, and you would always come back, apologizing, giving her reassurance while you starved yourself of the same. And maybe you did for a while, maybe you thought that was what love was supposed to be. But the moment you got tired of the chaos, the moment you found peace in your own quiet rather than in her storms, she started to feel something new, something unfamiliar. Fear of losing access to a man who was real, fear of losing the comfort of knowing she could come and go as she pleased, fear of seeing you stand tall in your truth, untouchable by the games that used to pull you back every single time. And that's when she loses, and that's when you finally start to win. She thought you would always come back, didn't she? She thought you would always be there waiting, ready to fix what she kept breaking, ready to forgive what she kept repeating, ready to give her the comfort she never truly appreciated. She thought your heart was a revolving door she could walk through whenever she felt lonely, whenever her other options fell through, whenever she needed to feel desired without having to give the same energy back. She tested you, pushed you, pulled away just to see if you would chase her, because she wanted to know that she could lose you and get you back anytime she snapped her fingers. She confused your patience with passivity, your kindness with weakness, your forgiveness with desperation, not realizing your kindness came from strength, not from a place of needing her validation to feel like a man. You didn't love her the way most men do. You weren't there for a temporary thrill, for her body, or to fill your ego. You loved her with presence, with depth, with commitment, with a genuine desire to see her win and grow beside you, even when she couldn't see the value in what you were giving her daily without asking for anything in return but loyalty and respect. She mistook your loyalty for a leash, something she could tug whenever she wanted you to return, but she never realized that your kindness had limits, and once it ran out, it wasn't coming back the same way again. Because you weren't blind, you weren't clueless, you saw her patterns, you saw the way she pulled away to create fear in you, and for a while, it worked because your love was genuine, and you were willing to fight for it, to work through storms for her. But even a man who loves deeply gets tired of fighting alone. Even the strongest man will stop trying when he realizes he is fighting for someone who doesn't value what he brings. She thought you would always be there, but now, she sees you were a rare kind of man, the type that doesn't come around twice, and she was careless with something priceless. She played with something real. And now she has to live with the loss of knowing she had a man who showed up for her, who saw her fully, who was willing to walk with her through her storms, and she traded that for games and temporary validation, thinking you would always be there, until the day you finally decided you were done being taken for granted, done being tested, done being treated like an option when you were always giving her your best. Here's the truth she didn't see coming. She only realized your value when you gave her nothing. When you gave her everything, your time, your presence, your consistency, your loyalty. She couldn't see it clearly because it was always there, always available, like air she never had to earn, like warmth she never had to protect. That's the cruel irony of it all. The more you gave, the less she saw. Because people don't always value what is consistent. They value what they have to earn, what they could lose if they don't care for it properly. And when you stopped giving, when you finally stepped back and chose your peace, she noticed. And it wasn't just a quiet moment for her, it was loud. It echoed in the spaces you used to fill with your energy, your check-ins, your care, your words reminding her she mattered to you. Suddenly, the silence wasn't empty, it was heavy. It made her realize how deeply she had taken you for granted, how much she had assumed your heart would always be there to pick her up, to reassure her, to give her a place to run back to when the world turned cold. She wanted the old you back, the version of you who would give everything, the version who gave his heart for free. But that man was gone. The truth is, she never wanted to lose you. She just wanted to feel like she could, to hold power in knowing you'd always return. She wanted control over how much you cared, how quickly you responded, how available you were to her needs, even when she gave so little back. But the day you stopped giving her that control was the day everything shifted, the day she felt powerless. For the first time, realizing the leash she thought you were on had snapped, and there was no pulling you back this time. She didn't know that your silence was your closure, your distance was your boundary, and your refusal to return was your final act of self-respect. Because you learned that peace is better than chaos, that your energy is too expensive to spend on someone who can't value it, and that sometimes the greatest way to show your worth is to remove yourself from the places where your value is taken for granted. Let her feel that loss, because now it is hers to carry, not yours to fix. You don't get her back by begging, by writing long texts at him hoping she will see your pain and suddenly change, by explaining your worth to someone who should have seen it every day. You gave her the parts of yourself you never gave to anyone else. That's not how you make her regret losing you. Regret isn't created by your words. It's created by your absence, your progress, your silence, your evolution. Regret is built in the moments she's watching your stories, seeing you become stronger, healthier, more focused, more peaceful, while she's stuck in the same cycles that once made you feel like you were drowning. While she's hoping for a sign you're still the same man waiting for her, you're busy building yourself into the man you were always meant to be, the man you lost while trying to prove your worth to someone who never saw it. That's what creates a storm in her chest, the realization that you didn't need her to become better, you just needed to let her go. Because you don't punish her with pettiness, you punish her with peace, with moving on, with a life she once had access to but now is locked out of permanently. You don't chase, you don't go back, not because you're bitter, but because you've finally learned your worth, and you've realized that your love is a gift, not something to be wasted on someone who saw it as convenience. Let her watch, let her sit with the memories of how deeply you loved, how present you were, how willing you were to fight for her when she didn't even fight for herself. Let her feel what it's like to lose a man who would have given her the world had she only valued it, because that memory, that regret, is hers to carry now, not yours. You win by walking away with your dignity intact, by refusing to shrink yourself to fit into a space that was too small for your love, by refusing to explain your worth to someone who was never ready for the depth you bring. And when you choose peace over proving yourself, that's when she truly realizes what she lost. and you realize what you gained. Yourself. Here's the truth most men don't learn until it's too late. She didn't want you. She wanted what you did for her. She wanted the validation you gave her when you told her she was beautiful, even on her worst days. The emotional stability you provided when her world felt chaotic. The comfort of knowing you would answer her calls, no matter how late. The feeling of being wanted without having to give the same in return. She liked how you made her feel about herself, not necessarily who you are at your core. That's why when you stopped pouring into her, when you stopped showing up with that consistent love and reassurance, she pulled away. She grew distant. She went cold. Not because she changed suddenly, but because your usefulness to her had expired. That's not love. That's emotional convenience, and a man like you deserves something deeper than that. A woman who truly loves you doesn't turn cold when you stop giving. She stays. She supports. She shows up when it matters, and she pours back into you when you're running empty. You were never hard to love. You were just trying to love someone who was emotionally unavailable, someone who craved chaos more than stability. Someone who saw your consistency as boring and your loyalty as predictable. She wasn't ready to receive the depth you offered, because she was still addicted to shallow thrills and games, living on the surface while you were trying to love her deeply. And that's not your fault. You gave her real love. She wanted a rush. You gave her peace. She craved drama. You gave her everything, and she didn't know what to do with it. Don't ever think you were too much for her. The reality is she was too little for you, too unready, too emotionally immature to handle a man who was ready to build something real. One day, she will look back and realize she had something rare and wasn't ready for it, and that's not your burden to carry. You don't win by proving yourself to her or trying to get her to see your worth. You win by remembering who you were before you lost yourself trying to keep someone else. You win by standing tall even when your heart aches, by refusing to go back. Not because you hate her, but because you finally love yourself enough to protect your peace. Let her post her pictures, let her smile like nothing happened, but behind closed doors, she will remember the man who loved her deeply. The man who showed up when no one else did. The man who would have given her the world if she had only valued it. Let that memory be her lesson while you keep moving forward.